Have you ever wondered how an electron can be both a wave and a particle? Our consciousness and senses have evolved to help us survive. But when it comes to understanding phenomena beyond the dimension in which our bodies exist, we encounter a serious obstacle. Our consciousness is simply not equipped for it. To help us comprehend such phenomena, we use analogies, but no analogy can fully describe a phenomenon without assumptions and caveats. Although mathematics can solve this problem, it does not provide us with familiar images. We use two analogies to describe the electron, one representing it as a wave perturbation and the other as a particle. However, neither of these analogies is an accurate representation of the true nature of the electron. The electron is something third, which we are unable to imagine. Any representation of phenomena outside our dimension is an analogy that helps us understand the world, but is limited by the evolution of our perception. Have you ever wondered what conscience is in evolutionary terms? Our ancestors' survival depended on their ability to conform to the social norms of their group. As society grew more complex, so did the rules of behavior, and social status became an important factor in determining one's access to resources and reproductive success. This created pressures of natural selection that increased the chances of bearing offspring to those who understood and tried to conform to the norms of behavior in their community better than others. This press formed the traits responsible for emotional discomfort at the thought of committing an antisocial act and positive emotions at committing socially approved actions. We call them conscience. Conscience is not tied to specific events. This means that different civilizations can approve or condemn the same behavior. Like any trait, conscience obeys a normal distribution. This is an important factor to consider when building social systems, because there will always be a certain percentage of people who are completely devoid of this trait. Otherwise, the system will not perform its functions, but will be a tool in achieving its goals for such individuals. Have you ever wondered why some people are lucky to find a mate, while others struggle to find one? One sex is more invested in offspring and has a limited reproduction time, while the other sex can reproduce endlessly and with many partners. This creates an imbalance in the mating market where females can choose from an overabundance of males. They prefer those who are popular with other females, which creates an even greater imbalance. And it means that a small percentage of males get most of the attention and many others are left out. It's like a chemical reaction in which one substance is in excess. The second substance will react completely, and the excess of the first will remain. This may seem unfair, but this is the essence of sexual division. This is how selective gene transfer to the next generation is ensured. Although the development of culture has partially neutralized these biological principles, people unconsciously strive to conform to them. Males are always in excess. That everyone has a soulmate is just a fairy tale. Have you ever wondered what risk means from an evolutionary point of view? Most animals fear the unknown. This behavior increases their chances of survival. Humans have evolved as a competitive species, which means that only 1 out of 10 males got to reproduce. In such a competitive environment, you need more than just survival to leave offspring. If an individual is constantly running away from the unknown, he misses out on many potential resources such as food and shelter. Those who live in constant fear have a better chance of survival. But they lose out in the competition for reproductive resources to those who are braver and have better living conditions, even if the mortality rate among such individuals is higher. Survivors will produce more offspring because they have priority access to mating. This, in turn, became a factor in the development of intelligence, since the chances of survival are higher in those who are able to assess when to take risks and when to avoid them. Thus, risk has become entrenched in our behavior and provided the impetus for the development of intelligence. Have you ever wondered how a person can be altruistic and selfish at the same time? Human ancestors lived in small nomadic groups. When groups clashed, they fought to the death. If a trait emerged that made the group more organized, the group gained an advantage in the struggle for resources. It grew, split into several competing groups, and the process repeated itself. Groups were more successful thanks to altruists, but within altruists lost to egoists and psychopaths. Homo sapiens emerged as an intermediate stage between the transition from selfishness to altruism. Today, we are faced with the fact that a large percentage of humanity are selfish and psychopathic. Under conditions of genetic drift, this percentage is about the same everywhere. However, the egoist is more competitive than the altruist. If a community ignores this fact, all resources and, above all, power will be subordinated to psychopaths and egoists. During evolution, not only individuals but also populations compete. Egoists and psychopaths always have an advantage in the competition between individuals, and only those communities that have learned to resist it are successful. Which came first, the egg or the chicken? The DNA of living organisms is constantly changing. Such changes are called mutations. To form a new trait, a new mutation must be present in every cell of the organism. This is possible if it occurs in the cell from which the new organism will subsequently emerge, either the germ cells that participated in fertilization or the egg cell. All cells of such an organism will inherit the change in the DNA structure. If we define a set of traits that a chicken must have, then the first bird that had all these traits was the first chicken. The set of genes of an individual is called the genome. The genome of the egg and the bird that will hatch from it are identical. The egg is simply one stage of the bird's existence. Thus, the answer to the question which came first, the egg or the chicken, is clear. The egg came first, and it was laid by a bird that closely resembled, but was not a chicken. Is the glass half full or half empty? When the glass is half full of water, the other half is filled with air. So, under normal circumstances, the glass is always full. We can imagine a situation where the glass exists in an absolute vacuum, and then it would be empty. But if we try to fill it with water, the water will evaporate and its molecules will be evenly distributed in space. In that case, depending on what level of density of matter we consider a vacuum, the glass will either be full or empty. Finally, there is one condition where we can answer the original question. If we achieve a vacuum under conditions of gravity and put a granular or powdery substance, such as sand, into the glass, then the answer is simple. If the glass was originally empty and then it was filled with sand, it is half full. But if it was full and it was emptied, it is half empty. This age-old question is often used to assess a person's optimism or pessimism. But science and logic help us answer even such classic riddles.